The third narrative that I identified and want to talk about, I call the Ethiopianist narrative, which views Oromo culture as evolving through a multi-millennial process within a Semito-Cushitic cultural matrix, and regards the Oromo expansions of the 16th century as advancing the transformation of Ethiopian empire into a multi-ethnic national state. In this view, and I will have to acknowledge my great indebtedness to Asmara Mulugasa for helping me come abreast of this view. It was thanks to their openness for adoption, assimilation, and intermarriage that Oromo settlers blended with people wherever they penetrated. Oromos became Christians in the north and Muslims in the east. They established kingdoms in the southwest and farming communities in Shoa. Oromos who settled near Garage adopted the Nsete culture and came to be teased by other Oromos as half Garage. The Otu branch of the Guji assimilated Sidamo culture so fully that many came to speak only Sidaminya. Conversely, Guji Oromo incorporated groups of Sidamo and Walaita people through the fiction of adoptive patrilineal affiliation. Beyond local intermixing, at the national level, Oromo became significant actors. The Ethiopianist narrative stresses Oromo penetration of the national arena from the late 16th century on, serving sorts of Bengal in battles against invading Turks, and Susnius, helping Emperor Susnius recover the throne in 1603, as my good colleague Mohammed Hassan has described, and future Emperor Bakafa escaping from the Wahani prison to live among the Yeju, Oromo in Gojan, becoming fluent in Oromiffa, filling his court with Oromo friends, sending Oromo fighters to control rebels in Begemder and Gojan. His wife, Empress Mentwab, arranged for their son Yasu II to marry an Oromo princess, a daughter of the Oromo chief Amito. Their son Ioas, Ethiopia's first emperor with Oromo blood, assembled a royal guard of 3,000 Oromo soldiers under 2 Oromo uncles and introduced Oromiffa as the language of court and imperial administration, etc., etc. While the imperial center declined after Ioas, power shifted to Tigrayan Ras Mikhail Saul and Wolo Oromo chieftain Ras Ali. And he commanded Oromo supporters in many regions. Ali's brother and his nephew Ras Gugsa maintained that strength. In high irony, the so-called Amhara homeland, the Amhara Munch, Amhara sign in Wolo, was in fact occupied by Oromo for most of the 19th century. From intermarriage with royal lines, high positions, military appointments, Oromo became central to Menelik's project of expanding the Ethiopian state. Menelik's historic encounter with invading Italians depended crucially on Oromo warriors, including Ras Gobana, Ras Makonnen, Gugsa, the Judge Balcha, Safo, Negus Mikhail of Wolo, and Fitarari Hapte Georgis. Before Adwa, Bejaran Balcha served as royal treasurer, and after Adwa, he served as governor in Sidamo and Hararghe. In 1916, the Jazmach Balcha played a key role in defeating supporters of the Jasu, and 20 years later mobilized a large force to attack the Italians in Addis Ababa. The fact that eminent Oromo figures like General Mulugeta Buli and Minister Yoma Deresa, both of whom I was privileged to know as friends, played central roles in the government of Emperor Haile Selassie, himself 3/4 Oromo, I believe, simply manifested what had long functioned as a multi-ethnic rule elite. So, what is the Ethiopianist perspective on the Oromo struggle? The Ethiopianist perspective regards the issues of scarce economic and political resources as an issue for Ethiopians all over the country. Ethiopianists will strive to change the Oromo's self-understanding from feeling that they are second-class citizens to that of players historically essential to Ethiopia's survival as an independent nation, in Gojam, in Gondar, in Adwa, in Eritrea, and Wollo, and in Finfinne, aka Addis Ababa. In addition, they will assert their full entitlement to enact laws and build institutions in the constructive and collaborative mode that informs Oromo political process. In this view, an important part of the Oromo struggle appears as a struggle to lend the resources of Oromo political culture to strengthening democratic institutions in modernizing Ethiopia. What would it mean to generalize the Oromo struggle for identity within the traditionalist perspective? Well, to do so would be to celebrate the Gada system as an exemplar of value for all Ethiopia and beyond, as our keynote speaker so eloquently put it earlier. Doing this would also reinforce a claim that recent scholars of sociocultural evolution have been making, that cultures at all evolutionary stages hold enduring value and make distinctive contributions to complex societies. Accordingly, this means not just preserving the Gada system for its own sake, but studying it to see how some of its achievements in the practice of democratic governance could be transferred to the Ethiopian nation as a whole. At the very least, serving as a world cultural treasure. If the kind of social order that human societies could achieve before the rise of chieftains and kingdoms could be viewed live. For this to happen, Boran and Guji Oromo and perhaps others must make sacrifices to avoid the temptations associated with the conveniences of modern urban life. What would it mean to reconfigure the Oromo struggle for freedom and justice as foregrounded in the colonialist perspective? For one thing, I believe, it would mean viewing the Oromo struggle as part of a larger struggle of all peoples of Greater Ethiopia for freedom and justice. It would mean, for example, extending the sense of privation and loss to all those, Afars and Aris, Gojamis and Gondares, Gambelans and Virages, Tigrayans and Samakos and so on, who have residual claims from prior losses and or suffer new grievances under the current regime. It would also mean, okay, get ready for some rough stuff, acknowledging the actions against others committed in the Oromo's own colonial past. I know I may be offending some people here, but my job as a scholar is to report and analyze facts as I know them. As the Oromo proverb says, Duyan fula hamtu, truth is ugly. It is hard for all of us to face up to uncomfortable truths. That said, I would counsel Oromo who hold the colonialist perspective to stop pretending that the great expansion of Oromo from the 16th century on was simply a peaceful movement of peoples. The facts are that it involved a huge amount of destructive conquest of civilian populations, a great deal of brutality against those conquered, and a legacy of enslavement that persists in some areas until today, such as Wellington. What would it mean to generalize the Oromo struggle for recognition within the framework of an Ethiopianist perspective? For one thing, paying more attention to Oromo figures who have contributed centrally to Ethiopia's national heritage, such as Emperor Iyoas, Ras Ali, Etegi Kaitu, Ras Kogana, Djajbatu, Ababa Bikina, Tadessa Lima, many. It would emphasize ways in which one can take pride in being Oromo and still champion the idea of Ethiopiawian ethnicity, especially in view of the countless multi-ethnic marriages in which Oromo Ethiopians have participated. I imagine most of you know, as I do, hundreds of Oromos who have married non-Oromos, okay? The Ethiopianist perspective, moreover, would move quickly to announce that meaningful justice for one group must entail justice for all. Liberate all the Oromo prisoners, but that's not enough. To be true to Oromo traditions, one must liberate the prisoners from all over, the political prisoners from all over Ethiopia. And once that inclusive step is taken, it can lead to a determination for Oromos to band together with all Ethiopians to address the rash of critical issues that face the entire nation. Chronic food insecurity, malnutrition, epidemics, not least HIV/AIDS, chronic, massively deficient educational system, continuing abuse of the rights of women, the plight of orphans and underground children in the cities, the despoliation of Ethiopia's beautiful lakes, the destruction of her forests, the dependence on toxic forms of energy use, the lack of a decent nationwide rural road network, the blindness to forms of green technology that could revolutionize Ethiopia's standard of living, and the promise of enabling all of Ethiopia's citizens to live free of the terror imposed by government agents and by the fear of Ethiopians of one another. I don't have any more time, so I'm just going to conclude with two quickies. One is an evocative saying from the great 13th century poet known as Rumi, who wrote, "A man crawls for years on his stomach with his eyes closed. Then, one moment, he opens his eyes, and he's in a garden. It's spring." And the other is, of course, the Oromo invocation of blessings. Ebis, ebis.